It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Gary Hammond.
And this is It's Movie Time. All right, let's move south.
Okay. North Carolina, you think?
That's a good choice, yes.
Good choice.
There is a best-selling novel called Where the Crawdads...
Crawdads.
There is a best-selling novel called Where the Crawdads Sing. Forever, I thought, on the New York Times list.
It was. Up and down, but mostly at the top.
Wow, yeah. And this has been made into a film. And you and I have seen this film.
Yes.
And we're about ready to review it.
We are. And it's another production by Reese Witherspoon, who did one on the Pacific Coast Trail, and she's done several other movies. She was interviewed and said she was looking for books that she thought she could make, and so
yeah.
She's kind of like Ellie in Legally Blonde, where she actually is very surprising in how good she is as a producer.
Yes, and she's done very well with this one, I think. The story, Gary, basically the story. Now, I know you can tell a story, so how about shortening this for the time we have?
So we go to North Carolina, I'd say in the 50s or 60s, and we have a drunken father, an abused mother, and two teenage girls, a teenage boy, and a little girl. And the father drives everyone out of the house except for the little girl, and ultimately, not to give too much away, he leaves, and she is left to raise herself like a feral child in the marsh. And she becomes the other to the community that she's connected with. She goes into the store and she trades mussels for grits and other things, but they're shy of her. She doesn't go to school, and she's ostracized by the community, and they think she's weird at least, and they're afraid of her at most, that she might be a witch.
Yes, very well done. You are a storyteller. She's called the Marsh Girl by the locals. To give you an idea, you talk about being the other.
Right.
I think that's part of this movie is how do you fit in when you're really odd and different.
Right.
And the Daisy Edgar Jones playing Kaya does a super job. I agree.
She was fantastic, and there are various protagonists. The lawyer is very generous with himself and his time and his spirit and his kindness, and then there's a good guy Tate and a bad guy Chase.
Yes.
And that's what the story evolves around those relationships.
And Tate is just too good to be true.
Yes.
And actually, both of them. They're these hulking, handsome guys.
Right.
And articulate and just
charming and smooth.
Right, and rich.
And one's rich. He's rich and evil.
Right.
Really very dark side. And I actually found that there's violence. It's not without violence, and I was shocked. Not so shocked by the drunken father as I was later by Chase, I guess, because he lulled me with his charm. The father was obviously a bad character from the beginning.
Yeah, he's played that role before. I think Delahunt is his last name, and he's played that role before. That a part of the Southern Gothic tradition.
Yeah.
This is not an extreme example. The best example I can tell anybody you know is Deliverance.
Yeah.
This is where it depicts the South as brutal, uncaring, and ignorant.
Prince of Tides came to mind, which I read the book and saw the movie, and it reminded me of that. And then the other thing, there is a courtroom drama, and this courtroom drama is not on the scale of Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird,
exactly.
but it's very engaging. It's underplayed by the man that played the lawyer. He's very subtle, very easy, very appealing.
David Strathairn, you'll know him the minute you see him.
Yeah.
He's been in 100 things.
Yeah.
And but as you're talking, I'm thinking it's closer to reality. Now, you as an attorney, would you say that it's closer than To Kill a Mockingbird, or is that not even an equation anywhere? Is it just?
I don't think anything benefits from comparison with To Kill a Mockingbird.
I know.
But having said that, I actually think To Kill a Mockingbird. I was just reading the other day about a crime drama where people were not where white people got away with killing Emmett Till. And
Oh, yes.
that was in the news yesterday
Yes.
in one of the papers. And so in terms of to kill a mockingbird, that is, I was going to say fair representation, that's not true, but that was a representation of some parts of the South. And this is giving us another view.
Yeah, and it still has, as you said, some of that violence and some of that gothic elements of it that say, oh yeah, that's the one. Because otherwise she is just exemplary as a human being who can survive.
Right.
I mean, and there's she is assaulted. You know, so there is danger out there for her, as you would expect. She's alone in the marsh or in the wetlands, and what do you expect?
Right.
But otherwise, the courtroom drama seemed to me to be kind of low-key.
Yeah.
And as you said, he played it low-key.
Right.
And to the extent that I was not sure what the verdict was going to be.
I actually was surprised by the verdict, although the way he played it, appealing to, actually he confronted the jurors with their perception of her as the other and asked her to see her as a young woman who is caught in a series of circumstances with no real evidence that she did the crime that was committed, just theories and supposition. And the jury is supposed to rely on the evidence that's presented in the courtroom.
Yes.
And the jury this wasn't discussed in the movie, but at the end the judge tells the jury, what the lawyers have said is mere argument. You're to decide the case based on the evidence as you find it to be. And the argument is used to persuade the jury to see the evidence in a certain light. And Kaya's attorney, I would think he really hit it on all notes.
Yes, and without haranguing, without making too big a deal of it. Yes, I agree, very good argument, but I still, the film intrigues me because I still was not certain what the verdict was going to be. It's so interesting. I'm sitting there and saying, I just don't know how this is going to go.
Well, a couple of the scenes I was surprised, actually, several times during the movie. The violence that she suffered surprised me. I was literally shocked.
Yes.
And I shouldn't have been, but I was.
Yeah.
And I was very pleasantly surprised by the verdict.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
I was too. About her as she develops, does that work for you?
It does. As played by a child, she's a two-dimensional character, and that's fine. She's a little girl, and she's there, and you see her going about her activities, trying to survive, and she succeeds at that. As a young woman, she actually does have somebody takes an interest in her and helps her, and she actually does blossom. And it might be a stretch, but it's believable that she could do the things. It's actually believable to me. I believed that she was able to do all the things that she did as a more developed adult person.
And there are people who will complain that she survived way too young. That it's hard to believe. I think 6 or 7 years old.
Yes.
She's surviving. And I got it. I got them that, except when we find out that she's a naturalist with a gift. I say this is an unusually bright young woman, unusually talented.
And she, during the period of time that her father was there were plenty of scenes of them going about the marsh and engaging in their activities.
Yes.
And she could have learned from him, but she didn't learn everything she needed. And then Tate, as a young boy, is helpful to her. Otherwise, she may have been lost and died in the marsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that too good to be true bit for me is when he helps her, teaches her how to read.
John, there are kind people out there.
I'm looking for them, and soon I'll get them. I know you hang out with them.
I do.
And I'll find the cinematography. People are going to be interested. What do we see?
We see scenes of the South, the sky, the sea, the marsh. There's swamp. The distinction between marsh and swamp is, let's just say, in the marsh you can get through it and it's sunny, and in the swamp it's hard to get through and it's dark. And the cinematography in terms of the camera actions, I'm no expert at that, but it was very gripping, and that's got something to do with the cinematography. In terms of the visuals of the beautiful southern, and I was at the Outer Banks at Hatteras Island in April, and I can tell you that I wasn't in the marsh, but I took the seascapes. It's gorgeous. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
real camera work.
Taylor John Smith, who plays Tate,
Uh-huh.
was recounting that as he was in the boat and talking to walkie-talkie, whatever, with them, they were warning him there were alligator, and there's an alligator floating right by him. Looked like a log, he thought.
Oh.
Oops. No, it wasn't.
Uh-huh.
So they were the real deal in
Right,
there.
right.
And I thought that they were very beautifully shot.
And I just remembered, I took my 13-year-old son camping in the Everglades, and we rented a canoe and we went out in a marsh, and as we were going across the lake and where we were entering into the marshy territory, a big alligator went swimming by, and he was very distressed, but we were fine.
Oh my gosh, you see, that would get to me. Now, Gary Hammond,
Sir,
the film is Where the Crawdads Sing. What would you advise our audience?
I thought it was a very entertaining hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever it was. I really enjoyed it. I was very caught up in the moment, and she is a terrific actress.
Yes.
And the young men in the movie are good
Yes,
actors,
right.
but she is really, we're going to see lots of things from her. You want to be able to say you saw her in this one.
I think it's just a cut above the usual summer fare. And we've had so much heroic business going on.
Right.
It brings it down a little bit to a more placid level, but it's not, because it has the violence you were talking about and the injustice that you were talking about. Yeah.
It's a small-scale Thor and Marvel Universe.
So you're telling me it's not Cape Fear?
It's not Cape Fear, which I've never been able to watch all the way through.
Oh, I know. No, there's real Southern guys.
There's real, both with old, let's see, old Slow Eye, that's what my mother
You're
called
right,
it.
Mitch,
Yeah,
and De Niro.
De Niro, yeah.